thank you for joining us, for being here on the webinar, and we apologize for this delay. We have some technical problems initiating the webinar. You can interact with us via the Q&A functionality of the Teams. You can find it in the upper bar of your Teams. Feel free to interact with us and to let us know if you are listening to us and if you are here. This webinar is dedicated to the open call of the LivingSoiLL Project, and it is particularly dedicated to the Loire Valley and Beaujolais Living Lab. And it will be divided in 3 main sessions. So in the first one, we will introduce the LivingSoiLL Project, and this presentation will be done by the project coordinator, Cristina Carlos. We will then do a brief introduction to the Loire Valley and Beaujolais Living Lab by the Living Lab leader, David Lafont. And then Inova will talk a little bit about the open call procedure, okay, and help you and support you on how to apply to this open call. Please, as I said, feel free to interact with us in the Q&A, and we will answer you as we can. So now I will give the floor to the project coordinator, Cristina.
Good morning, everyone. I don't know if my sound is okay. You can hear me? Yes?
I can hear you correctly, yes.
Okay, great. So, good morning, everyone. I have this mission of introducing you the LivingSoiLL Project. I will ask you, Katarina, to go on with the slides, please. Thank you. This is a project approved from the soil mission, and it has this particularity of engaging. It's a project about constituting living labs with the goal of improving, applying, enhancing soil health innovative practices in order to improve soil health in 50 experimental sites, and with the goal of at least constituting 10 lighthouses. We will discuss a little bit about these concepts, about experimental sites and lighthouses, because these are new concepts, and these are new projects, these Living Lab initiatives about the bottom-up approach, very quite different from the other initiatives where the research scientists normally are leading this project. This is another type of project, really innovative, with the farmers and with the real-life conditions in the center of the initiatives, and with a very participatory approach, engaging farmers, identifying needs, soil health challenges, and having them on co-creating solutions to improve their soils. So the projects have this goal of constituting, well, our main challenges about soil are dedicated to reduce erosion, improving soil structure, minimizing the impact of intensive fertilizer and pesticide use, increase water storage, enhance soil biodiversity, and boosting overall soil resilience. You can go on, please. Katarina, thank you. Well, I give here some specific objectives about our project. So we need to engage to a very multidisciplinary and multifunctional network of actors, stakeholders, to co-design, co-develop, and co-implement these solutions to restoring soil health. We want to reduce the gap between knowledge and practices through the implementation of these 5 living labs to seek practical, innovative solutions to these problems. So we will, in very close collaboration with farmers, with the business, the agriculture business, research about these soil health problems and create a common action plan, of course, adapted to each living lab regions. You can go on, Katerina. Thank you. So for that, we have these several stakeholders that we would like to engage on this project. Key partners, farmers and agriculture practitioners, business and innovative in agriculture, educational institution and researcher, local community and residents, policymakers, authorities and regulatory bodies, and in a general audience in general, because it's very important to promote literacy about soil health. You can go on, Katerina, please. So, in practical, from the practical point of view, we'll test and validate the combination of integrated solutions to improve soil health in 5 permanent crops. We want to ensure sustainability of these living labs through the co-creation of economic business models. We are, at the same time, we are applying these innovative solutions. We want to quantify economic, social aspects in order to identify business possibilities to develop services and so on in the future, improve knowledge and increase literacy on soil and sustainable management practices among farmers and the overall community. You can go on, Katerina. Engage and cooperate with other projects and initiatives contributing to raising awareness of mission soil, and propose policy recommendations on best management practices to be applied on this 5 permanent crop, I will describe it later, to reduce erosion while promoting soil health indicator. Of course, this policy needs to be adapted at local scale. That is why we have this network of 5 living labs that are established in Europe. So we have the Luso-Galician in the North Portugal and Spain, then dedicated to vineyards and olive groves, the Andalusian dedicated to olive groves, the Northwestern Italy dedicated to vineyards, chestnut and hazelnuts, the Loire Valley Beaujolais dedicated to vineyards, and the Grójec dedicated to apples. So when we speak about this call, about the Loire Valley and Beaujolais Living Lab, you have here an opportunity of exchanging with these regions, namely Portugal and north of Spain, Italy, north of Italy. So we have 3 regions that are engaged in also solving problems related with vineyards. And it will be a very good opportunity to exchange among farmers, researchers, and so on. You can go on, Katerina. Thank you. No, you have to because I have animation on this one. Thank you. So when the goal of this project was also to engage different actors from the quadruple helix. And so we have researchers, university, public administration, business, producers, and civil society. From the beginning, we have succeeded on engaging 49 partners, and here are the general characterization of partners. As you can see, the farmers or the farmers' representatives is almost 50%. They represent almost 50% of partners. So this is very important and is in terms of comparing with other projects related with living labs, we are really quite different because we have them engaged, these farmers engaged from the beginning in the consortium. So the researchers, the university are not the most in terms of number, they are not the dominant actors. The farmers are the dominant actors. So here we have 2 main crops in terms of representativity, vine sector and olive sector. And we also have apples, as you can see. Number of partners, we have here the division according to the 5 living labs. And as you can see here, it's very important with this open call that we engage more partners with the Beaujolais and Loire Valley Living Lab. Because it was not possible to have them since the beginning in the consortium. So this is a very good opportunity to engage more actors in collaborating on the initiatives of this project. Katerina, you can go on. So the project are divided in several work packages. I won't go into details on explaining very briefly, just to say that we have a work package dedicated to the establishment of the Living Lab, and this is very important because it's related with social networks. How should we interact to give visibility to each partners to be able to collaborate on the co-creation process. It's very important to know very well our partners are organized in terms of governance model and so on. So these are dedicated to the Living Lab establishment in itself. Then we have a work package dedicated to monitoring framework. So this is a technical and scientific at the beginning, and a technical work package, because it is supposed to define a monitoring system to collect samples before applying the innovative solutions, and to monitor the experimental sites. Then now we will start discussing about the experimental sites, in order to evaluate the impacts of the practices that will be applied in each experimental sites. The work package 4 are related also with more in practical terms about deciding which practices will be applied in each crop, in each living lab, and also to monitor the impact of these practices. And of course, this is related with the other work package, namely the business model, as we will collect information about economic, social aspects of the application of the practices. And of course, we have the communication and work package management that are related with all this work package that I mentioned previously. So this is very important. You understand the definition of an experimental site, because it's something that is directly related with the open call, to the entities that will apply to the open call, because they need to bring an experimental site, because it is a place, a real life vineyard in this case. In terms of, it can be a commercial vineyard, a commercial plot, a commercial farm, in which we will test a solution. We will collect first a set of indicators of soil parameters to have the baseline. Then we will apply these innovative solutions on managing soil, and we will monitor the effect of these practices during the projects. So as well as I was saying previously, as well as social and economic indicators, not only, of course, the monitoring will be performed not only in the soil, but also in the crop. We want to know about the impact of the soil management on crop as well, because as you know, the farmers will only adopt a solution if it doesn't impact negatively the crop. So here we have this graphic showing that we have make in the proposal phase of this LivingSoiLL project. We have predicted more or less 10 experimental sites to Beaujolais Loire Valley. And this is one of our goals, is to find at least 10 experimental sites in this living lab. Okay. You can go on, Katerina. Thank you. Some figures here about the number of experimental sites. So as you can see, in the initial phase, the Loire Valley and Beaujolais didn't identify because we identified few partners at that time. We didn't have time to find this opportunity to find this exchange with farmers to have these experimental sites. So we have these goals. And at the proposal phase, we also, the Living Lab leader identified here some aspects related with cover crops, with lower needs, mulch, biochar, bio-based, oven-grown cover, sustainable management, or organic matter, according, of course, linked to the soil health problems identified in this Living Lab. Next, please. Here are some examples of soil management practices that are being discussed in the other living labs. Namely the type of ground cover, the impact of native species, the impact of sowing species. We would like to find a mixture that with lower water needs, and also to study the impact of cover crop management. But these are few examples, just to let you know some examples about this. Next slide, please. And also another examples as the using of different composts as vermicomposts and so on. So I leave you here some advantage of applying to this open call, namely the opportunity of collaborating in a very diverse and multidisciplinary network of living labs. So we will have farmers from very different climate and soil conditions from Europe, group of researchers, a very multidisciplinary network of researchers with different expertises, technology, soil biology, sociology, data management, and so on. So we'll have this exchange between the 5 living labs about, even in one living lab, between different crops, as we do in Luso Galician Living Lab. The olive growers will exchange with the wine growers about, because they share the same problems, the same territory, the same climate, and perhaps the solutions that can be applied in a crop can be also applied in the other crop. It will be interesting having this exchanging between farmers and to have a scientific point of view about the impacts. And we also can understand how these practices can be applied in a specific context, because some farmers, considering their characteristics of their farms, they can have the solutions to apply, and these solutions perhaps cannot be applied in other. We need to understand why. So we will also contribute to the development of business model, and also at the end for the adaptation of political measures to different climate conditions, soil condition, economic context, and so on. I leave you here an example about the one practices, that is the cover crop, the use of cover crop in a climate. This was reviewed by a group of scientists, and usually in terms of general overview, they can be applied in specific context that then they bring positive effect for the soil parameters, and for the crops. But in other contexts, we need to pay attention to the climate conditions, because in some cases, as mentioned here in Spain, they have sometimes specific constraints about climate and competition with vines, and we need to pay attention about these results. And we will also collect about some results to improve this literature about scientific results also, as well. So I think I finished. So our goal is to set up these 5 living labs with 5 permanent crops. In this case, in this open call, of course, our goal is to find 10 experimental sites on vineyards. But our general goal in the project is to have monitored 50 experimental sites and at least 10 lighthouses, which means that an experimental site where we will find positive effects on soil health and on crops can be designated as lighthouses, which means is a place that farmers open their plots to other neighbors to show how it was applied, the practice has applied. It will be at the end a demonstration site. Okay, so our goal is also to have this active participation of 2,000 local actors. So here we have these at the end, these goals of increasing knowledge about the adoption of novel digital solutions for sustainable land management, because we will test some sensors to try to correlate parameters on soil with sensors. We would like to have the higher participation of soil community farmers in the R&D and innovative process. higher involvement of citizens as a general overview, that to be engaged to promote literacy of soil in the community and to establish a strong community of practices making Europe agriculture sector more competitive. Thank you for your time. Now I leave the floor to David.
Hello everyone. So I will give you a quick overview of what's going on in the French Living Lab, the Loire Valley and Beaujolais Living Lab. So the location of the Living Lab is, well, the two regions, Loire Valley and Beaujolais, and we discussed with the already discussed with some actors of the Living Lab to reduce the scope of the Living Lab, and in the Loire Valley we're more precisely located in the Maine-et-Loire and Loire-Atlantique departments, and in the Beaujolais, all the Beaujolais vineyard that is engaged in this Living Lab. We're dealing with grapevine in this Living Lab, so the total area is 118 kilometers square, roughly. But of course, this is the area of the whole vineyard of the Loire Valley, so it's smaller in fact. But we'll. So what have we done so far in this Living Lab? In September last year, we did a first webinar to present the project to local stakeholders and to try to engage them. Then in November, we had a first meeting, a first workshop. In this first workshop, we deal with, well, presented the project, but we deal with what are the local challenges. And we also did a stakeholder mapping to see if we needed more partners and people that were around stable at this stage. Well, so we did a workshop in the two regions, Beaujolais and Loire Valley, and we had another round of workshops in January and February to start discussing experimental sites and the solution we could imagine for the experimental sites. What's going on now? We're at the stage to identify the experimental sites that will start now, to discuss the solutions that will be used in those experimental sites. And we're up to do the soil baseline analysis. Christina just presented you in April on the first experimental site. Then we have the open call going on, so we will have a new set of experimental sites arriving and in June, and so we will deal with them at this time. The main challenges that were identified at the beginning of the project when we wrote the project were erosion, compaction, and water stress. As I mentioned in the first workshop, we did we discussed this, and you can go on, Katerina. We identified other challenges. So in Beaujolais, erosion is at the top. Then question about soil fertility, durability, biodiversity. There was an issue about practices of soil management, the development of new practices, and the appropriation of existing practices. And also related issues, so global health, climate change, that are not really soil health issues, but that can have a link. In the Loire Valley, the challenges that were defined in these workshops were soil life, soil structure, organic matter content of soils, adaptation of soils to climate change, knowledge, something about the knowledge about what's going on in the soil, pollution by phytosanitary products, and erosion in the soil. The partner we have currently in the project, we have only 3 partners, as Christina mentioned, that are funded by the project. So IAV and the 2 agricultural chambers in Rhône and in Pays-la-Loire. But we had lots of people attending the workshop, 23 different structures and 35 people. So we're some of them will probably get engaged into the open call, but some other will keep working with us without funding. So we will have to find ways to involve them. And one important things we have to keep in mind is that this Living Lab has to go on after the end of the project. So we want to start thinking about that right now. Thank you. I think that's all for me. And I'll give the floor to Katarina.
Thank you, David, and thank you, Christina, for the presentations. So now we will talk about the LivingSoiLL Open Call procedures. You have the QR code here where you can access the website of LivingSoiLL and the specific page for the open call where you can find all the documents needed for you to apply to this open call. So, as already stated, this open call invites soil-related stakeholders to submit proposals and establish at least one experimental site in the Living Lab, Loire Valley and Beaujolais. And the idea is that these stakeholders will engage in co-design and implementation of innovative soil health strategies and solutions. So we aim to strengthen this Living Lab. We aim to expand the number of factors and experimental sites in this particular Living Lab and focus on co-creating solutions for soil health. We want to enable the selected beneficiaries to also gain knowledge, build capacity, and implement the solutions in their experimental sites. Who can apply? So all soil-related stakeholders can apply, including land owners and land managers, researchers, industry, SMEs, public administration, representatives of civil society, such as NGOs, registered, of course, as legal entities. Proposals can be submitted by one legal entity or by a consortium formed of two legal entities that need to be established, in this case, in France. And of course, the experimental site needs to be in one of the two regions of this Living Lab. The proposals have five expected outcomes. All need to be applied. So the beneficiaries need to design their strategies in order for the strategies to reach these expected outcomes. The first one is to co-create and implement innovative soil management techniques or practices and solutions to enhance the soil health in the experimental sites brought by the applicant under real-life conditions. Maintain active collaboration with LivingSoiLL Project partners, and in particularly adhering to the Living Lab governance and leadership structures throughout the project. They also need to share data on soil health indicators and the impacts of new techniques, a minimum of 2 soil sampling campaigns. They need to contribute to the validation and scaling of sustainable soil management practices, and they need to report all these activities and outcomes achieved at the end of the project. These expected outcomes are translated into 3 formal deliverables. So the first one is the collection of a minimum of 2 sampling campaigns. Also, they have to submit a report that describes all the activities performed during the project. And for type B projects, they also need to submit one plan on sustainable soil management practices and measures to improve soil health beyond the collaboration with the LivingSoiLL Project. There are a series of eligible activities that can be added to your proposals. One of them is mandatory for both types of proposals, that the activities that they need to have activities related to soil management to enhance soil health. And of course, you can add to your proposals other fieldwork activities relevant to the proposed project. You can also add into your proposals capacity building and collaboration activities, such as travels, participation in meetings, and for type B projects, you need to have organization of events, workshops, or meetings. You can also have different types of activities to participate in the Living Lab activities and other types of capacity building and collaboration activities that are relevant to the proposed project. In addition, you can also have activities related to dissemination and reporting, like communication activities, preparation and collaboration on reports, and other dissemination and reporting activities relevant to the proposed project. So as I said, two types of proposals exist, and you can apply to one of them. So for the first one, type A, the projects can be financed up to 35,000 euros, and type B can be financed up to 75,000 euros. For type B, please keep in attention that you need to have at least two types of activities. So the first one, as I said, is the organization of at least one on-site event or workshop dedicated to either capacity building or dissemination purposes. And you also need to plan on your proposal to have a sustainable soil management plan on practices and measures to improve the soil health of your experimental sites behind the collaboration with LivingSoiLL Project. So just to sum up, for both types, your activities need to include at least one experimental site in one of the regions of the French Living Lab, activities related to soil management to enhance the soil health, and also collaborate for at least 30 months with the Living Soil network and partners. Of course, as Christina said, this is a mutual collaboration, and we foresee that for you will receive guidance and assistance in co-creating innovative strategies for implementing and testing innovative soil management practice and solutions in the experimental sites. You will also access expertise and tools to monitor the soil health indicators, including support in collecting, analyzing, and sharing of data on soil. You will also be given opportunities to collaborate with a network of researchers and partners of the Living Soil, as well as with practitioners and members of the 5 Living Labs. You will be able to participate in different workshops, training sessions, and knowledge sharing activities focused on sustainable soil management practices. Okay, sorry, I don't know if you still see the presentation, because I kind of lost it. Okay.
Yes.
Sorry, just disappeared from my screen. And we will also gain visibility by being able to share results via consortium organized events, publication, or technical meetings. So the overall budget that we have to give to third parties is 400,000 euros to support soil stakeholders, and we aim to fund 5 to 10 proposals, with at least 2 proposals to be funded for the Loire Valley and Beaujolais Living Lab, okay, and the 2 others for the Grójec Living Lab. That is not the aim of this session. How can you apply? So you need to submit the form available online. You have the QR code here and also the link for this submission. Please be careful to read all the documents that are available on the LivingSoiLL website. Please check all the requirements and guidelines to make sure that you are eligible for the open call. So all this documentation is essential for you to apply into the open call. So start preparing it in advance, so you have time to tackle all the requirements, and take into consideration that only English proposals written in English will be accepted. In other language will be disqualified from this open call. So here you have an overview of the form. The step 1 is to accept the privacy data and protection terms. You need to choose the type of application, if you are going to apply as an individual entity or as a consortium. If you are applying as a consortium, you need to have the names of the two entities that will join the consortium, and you need to state if you are going to apply to a type A or type B project. And yeah, of course, you need to indicate which living lab are you going to apply to. So in here you have the application details where you need to add the organization legal name. You also need to say which kind of soil related stakeholder you are and the legal status of your organization. And then you have to fill the proposal details. So all of these questions are mandatory, and you need to upload the mandatory files, that is the budget file. You need to read and accept all the declarations and submit within the due date, that is 5 of May. After the due date of the open call, the proposals will enter an evaluation process. This evaluation process will be made in 2 steps. So on the first step, we will verify the eligibility of your proposals. And on the second step, your proposals will be evaluated according to predefined criteria that it is stated in the guidelines that you can consult now. And proposals will be evaluated and selected. So this evaluation procedure will be made by 3 senior members of the LivingSoiL Consortium. So at least 3 jury members will evaluate each application. One of these jury members will be from UTAD, that is the coordination institution. The other member will be from the Loire Valley and Beaujolais Living Lab, the Living Lab Leader Coordination Institution, and one other evaluation member will be from one of the research partners of the consortium. So as I said, the proposals will be evaluated against a predefined criteria. These criteria, we have 4 criteria: alignment with the LivingSoiLL Project, innovation and potential impact on the soil health, but also on the mission soil, competencies and capabilities of the consortium to undertake the activities stated in the proposal, and of course the cost benefit of the proposed activities. Each of these criteria will be scored from 1 to 5, and the minimum threshold is 3. Okay, so automatically rejected will be the proposals that score less than 3 in each of these criteria, or a total of less than 12. So the proposals are ranked by the total score according to the criteria, and in the case we have a tie, that will be broken according to the criteria 1, that is the alignment with the LivingSoiLL Project. If we still have a tie, the priority goes to proposals that are submitted by a consortium. And at the end, we will take on priority of the applications submitted earlier. After the ranking of the proposals, we will have a consensus meeting, which means that all the evaluators will be present and will reflect on the agreed opinions and score signed by all the evaluators. The decisions will be made by the consensus of the team or by the majority of the votes. So this is the schedule of the open call. The open call opened on the 5th of March. The deadline for submission is 5 of May at 5 o'clock CAT. The evaluation will take place between 6 of May and 5 of June. And applicants will be informed about the evaluation results. This is an indicative date on the 6th of June 2025. They will sign the subgrant agreement on 30th of June, and they will start the implementation of the activities proposed on 1 of July of 2025. And they need to collaborate with us at least 30 months, which means that the projects will end, we predict that they will end on 30th of November 2028. And now we open the session for discussion. So feel free to have your questions on the Q&A, or also to turn on your phones and pop your microphones and pop up the questions. Okay. So Johanna, please go ahead.
Hello, hi, nice to meet you, everybody.
Hi.
So indeed, I have a small question. So I'm Johanna, Sat for Space Science and Technology for Space. We are working on a solution to help derive soil health from satellite monitoring. So we are working really with Earth observation data. And my question is related to the consortium, in case we want to submit type B, I think it's project. In the envelope for the 75K envelope, can we have also subcontractors? Because we would like probably also to involve people on AA, artificial intelligence, to find the best way to treat the data. Is it possible, or is it really, or the work needs to be really concentrating on field work?
Hi, Johanna. Thank you for your question. The work, so you have two questions in there. If we could have subcontracting, correct, in the activities?
Sorry, I didn't hear the beginning.
Yes. So you have two questions in there, correct?
Yes.
So okay. So the first one is if we can have subcontracting on your proposal activities.
Exactly. If we are already a consortium of two companies, but there's a third one which would be more like a subcontractor or supplier.
And the subcontracted will be for which kind of activities?
What do you mean?
What do you foresee to be the subcontracting activities?
IA based techniques. What is the best artificial intelligence technique to be used for the data treatment related to soil contamination? So it's really like treating data.
Okay.
So it's not linked really to soil per se. So the main consortium will be really working on getting data, on-field data, and checking how it matches the satellite-based data. But then we need also to have the best way to treat the data so that they can match the needs from the farmers or the companies, etc. The people that needs to have the data. I don't know if it's clear what I'm saying.
Yes, it's more or less clear. So for this type of open call, yes, subcontracting is possible, but we advise that it will be a small part of the activities.
Okay. Typically, there is a percentage or something limit, or not defined, but you advise just.
No, it's not defined. It's no percentage. It's just what you think is reasonable. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Afnan, please go ahead.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm Afnan Sulaiman. I'm working as a soil microbiologist at BioClear Earth, and we are a technology provider. So what we do is a screening of the microbiome present in the soil, so we could indicate which microbes are related to soil health, for example. We don't have access to any experimental or living lab. So if we would apply, we would apply as for a consortium. And my question is like, usually when we apply for EU Horizon projects, there is a partner search list from where we can look for partners. My question, if there is something like that.
So you are looking for a partner that has an experimental site in the region, so you can both join as a consortium.
Yeah, exactly.
So right now we do not have any list prepared, but I'm not sure if David wants to add something in here.
We don't have a list at the moment. We have started to try to see where we can find some experimental sites, but at this stage we don't have a list we can provide for that.
So the idea would be that I would find it in my own network.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Afnan.
Mm-hmm.
Any more questions? Not sure we have something on the Q&A.
Yes, we have questions on the Q&A, Katarina, so I will read some of them.
Okay.
And you can provide the answer to the audience, okay?
Okay.
So we have a question that can type A projects involve more than one partner? For instance, a farmer network of farmers plus a solution provider. In any case, will the agronomic technical support be provided by the LivingSoiL partners?
Okay, so type A projects can involve more than one partner. They can apply as a consortium. They need to bring an experimental site. In case will be economical. You will have technical support for your activities, but your activities need to be secure by you according to your proposals. Then
okay. Then can you please define what is expected for type B projects? Is this a collaborative project combining one farm with experimental site and, for example, an advising organization with a larger scope and carrying out also dissemination activities? Can solution providers be eligible also?
Okay, so for type B projects, the only difference between type A and type B is related to the mandatory activities that we need to have on type B. So in type B, we need to have the organization of one on-site event, workshop, or meeting dedicated to capacity building and collaboration or dissemination purposes. And we also need to have the definition of an elaboration plan on sustainable soil management practices. So for both types, the eligibility criteria is the same, okay? I'm not sure I answered the question. Let me check if I can find it. Who made the question, Anna? Sorry, so I can read it again.
It was...
Yes, I made the question. Indeed, for me, the answer is clear. The difference between the two types is really related to activities carried out, and no matter about who is involved, it can be a single partner or a consortium. Okay, so thank you. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, it's the same for both types. Okay.
For the moment, we don't have further questions on the Q&A. I don't know if participants have additional questions to pose.
We have a question in here that is, but David, please go ahead first, and then you can read the question.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that the participation to the open call was not the only way to participate to the Living Lab, and in particular for solution providers that might want to participate to the Living Lab. The open call can be one solution if you find an experimental site, and that's fine, but you can also contact us directly to see if you can participate and what are the ways we can imagine to work together. Just wanted to make that clear.
Good statement. Thank you, David. We have one question that is, as part of this open call, is it possible to carry out trials on crops other than wines. No, you need to address the crop of the Living Lab, that is vineyards. Okay. Then I don't see any more questions. Okay, Johanna, please go ahead.
Yes, maybe one last question from my side, just for those new experimental sites. They need to be located in either the Beaujolais region or the Maine-et-Loire region. We're gonna extend to other regions, and the experimental sites need to be there.
Yeah,
Yes.
Maine-et-Loire and Loire-Atlantique.
Maine-et-Loire and Loire-Atlantique, sorry. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Trying to find the map. Do you have any more questions? Yeah.
Maybe one more comment, maybe to help understanding what's expected from the applicants. We need experimental sites that have soil health problems to be solved. We don't need at this stage that you have already find the solution, because in the Living Lab we are going to co-create the solutions. So you don't have to tell what you're exactly going to do on the experimental site. I think this is important to keep in mind.
Thank you, David. One second. Okay, please don't forget that you can send us your questions also via email. Okay, we have the email in here, livingsoilinnova.business.
We still have one question from Afnan.
Yes, please go ahead, Afnan.
For me, it's not a question, but just like as I see that there are 20 people here in this meeting, if anyone who has an experimental site in the region of this project, I will share my email for anyone who is interested to form a consortium. So please get in contact if you are interested. Thank you.
Thank you, Afnan.
We got a new question on the Q&A. So the question is, are there any particularities to be taken into account when setting up trials, experimental design, specific measures? Perhaps,
David and Christina, maybe you can answer.
Yes. Yes, the idea here, the first thing we need is that the experimental site is a real life site. This is mandatory for Living Lab, and so it has to be in the real life conditions. So we don't need an experimental site with lots of replications and modalities and so on, but it's more one plot where we have some soil health issues, and we will co-create some solution to be applied to the plot, and we will evaluate them on the plot. Okay. So
Okay, thank you. Christina, do you want to add something?
Yes, I can add something. Just so the monitoring, the parameters that will be monitored were already defined under work package 3. So we will analyze a set of physico-chemical parameters, also pesticides, metagenomic, and erosion. So we are still defining the protocols. We are at this moment collecting. We started collecting on the first experimental sites, the first samples, but this was already defined. Okay, we can have optional parameters that, for instance, in our case, we will analyze flora in our experimental sites, because we think that it's an important indicator, but it's optional. The mandatory one are physico-chemical parameters, metagenomic, pesticides, and and erosion, but we are still checking how erosion will be evaluated. But these are the mandatory ones, okay? It was already defined. Concerning the experimental design, we should have a plot. Most of farmers are asking to have a control, not a control, but as a plot that we call business as usual. It will be treated as usual. And the other plot in which we will apply the innovative solution, because we want to compare the results in this with the other during these 4 years of the project. But considering that we have the impact of climate condition and so on, we need to have also business as usual plots to understand the impact in the crop as well. But this was the first steps of the project. We have defined already these parameters, yes.
Thank you, Cristina. Any
No more
more
questions on the
questions?
Q&A?
No more?
Nope.
So any questions?
Yeah, there's a question about Uzbekistan universities. Can
It's
they
already,
participate in the call for proposals?
it's already replied
Okay.
in the Q&A as well.
Okay.
You have one new.
Yes.
Emil is asking if should the proposals include budget for soil-related analysis or only additional?
Cristina, do you want to answer this one?
The microphone is muted, Christine.
Sorry, I didn't. Where can you repeat, Anna, please?
Should the proposals include a budget for soil-related analysis or only additional?
Good question. You should consider this on your also this on your proposal. But an additional budget was considered for the French site for analysis of some experimental sites. For analyzing these parameters, but you should also consider additional ones. We can, I think we have this information, but yes, it was a budget for 10 experimental sites. To analyze 10 experimental sites was Ligia, can you please help me support me on this, because I think that for the French site also we put 10 experimental sites.
Yes.
The parameters to be monitored. No.
Yes.
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 Yes, David,
Yes.
please go ahead. David, do you want me to?
No, I was just confirming that we have the budget for analyzing 10 experimental sites.
Yes, you during the grant preparation, we have allocated enough resources for you to make analysis of soil samples for all the expected experimental sites.
So, but considering that perhaps some of the applicants want to make more analysis on other parameters, you should take care also about this. You should put also some budget on that as well.
Okay. Thank you, Emil. Emeline, let us know if this answered your question or if you have additional questions on this. Otherwise, for now, there's no new questions on the chat.
If you have any other question on live, if you want, I think we have time for one more.
I just wanted to react to a question about does the company have to be based in one of the two regions, Loire Valley and Beaujolais? And the answer is no, it has to be in France. But keep in mind that Living Lab activities are needs to have frequent in-person meetings. So if you're not in the region, you have to budget some travel and accommodation fees.
Okay, thank you, David. So I will repeat again, if you have any more questions or if you will have any question in the future that you are not now recalling, please send us an email into livingsoilinnova.business. Feel free to also go to our website and to the page of the open call and carefully read all of our documents. And please apply. So if we do not have any more questions, there's no more questions, correct? And on Q&A, nothing that I'm seeing. I think we can close the session here. So this session will also be available in our website. Follow our social media for more news. You have all the QR codes for our social media. And you also have here the email of the project coordinator and of Innova for you to send us the questions of any comments or suggestions. Please feel free to use it. Cristina, David, if you do not have anything else to say, or if you do, no? So I think we can close. Okay, thank you, David. So I think we can close the session here. Thank you for your participation, and we look forward to your proposals. Thank you. Bye. Have a nice day.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.